Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. So in this topic, I'm going to talk about microbial metabolism. Before we start, I'm going to explain or describe to you what are the learning outcomes for this course. Okay, so at the end of the course, students should be able to define what is metabolism and what is enzyme, to describe the fundamental differences between anabolic reaction and catabolic reaction, to explain the role of enzyme and their importance in metabolism for cell maintenance, to illustrate how how nutritional requirement and metabolisms are involved in the generation of energy, which is ATP. Lastly, to identify the role of ATP as intermediate between catabolism and anabolism. So we will discuss the activities that enable microbes to thrive, to grow, to survive. And these reactions are actually unique to bacteria that allow bacteria to do things that we human cannot do. For example, some bacteria can live on cellulose. Some can live or survive on petroleum. Some can live in hot spring water. All right. So these are the uniqueness of bacterial metabolism. So these are the topics that you're going to learn in this topic. Subtopics are enzymes and metabolism. Number two, about bioenergy, and then we're going to talk about coenzyme. Coenzyme is compound that is help in the function of enzymes. All right, and finally we're going to talk about the redox reaction. The reduction and oxidation reactions that involve in chemical reactions. Metabolism term refers to the sum or total of all chemical reactions within a living organism. So when we talk about chemical reactions, so you will imagine there is one substrate and then you have an enzyme that catalyzes the changes, the reaction that change the substrate into product. Okay, so metabolism means total, the sum of all of that chemical reactions that happen in living organisms. All right, so also it means, or in other words, it means all the reactions that build up or help to break down the nutrients within a cells. So this metabolism is the life support processes that enable microbes to thrive. Okay, and those chemical reactions, either they release or require energy. So metabolism can be viewed as an energy balancing act. So between catabolic reactions that release the energy and anabolic reactions that require energy. So in living things or in living cells, the chemical reactions that release energy are generally the ones that involve in catabolism. So catabolism is the breakdown of macromolecules, big molecules, into simpler molecules or smaller molecules. And these reactions will generate energy, will relieve energy. So these reactions are also called as catabolic reactions or degradative reactions, which generally involve hydrolytic reactions, which uses water and use water and involve chemical bond being broken down. Okay, and these reactions are catabolism is an exergenic reaction. Exergenic means reactions that produce more energy that they consume. So for example, degradation of sugar into carbon dioxide and water. So the most easy example or important examples is glycolysis. So glycolysis is a process of glucose catabolism, breaking down the glucose into pyruvate. So uh, when the cells would like to catalyze or break this glucose, first the cells must first invest some energy into it. So in glycolysis, cells need 2 ATP, and then during the breakdown of glucose into pyruvate, the cells will produce 4 ATP. So they produce more ATP for that they use energy. Initially they use 2 ATP. So again, what is catabolism? It is the breakdown of large molecules, large biomolecules into smaller molecules. So these are examples of the molecules that the cells will normally catabolize: proteins, polysaccharides, and fats. They will degrade these biomolecules into amino acids, into polysaccharide, into monosaccharides, fats into fatty acids. And all these small molecules will turn into acetyl-CoA, and then this acetyl-CoA will go or will be processed through TCA cycle, and then TCA cycle will produce NADH, and this NADH energy compound or electron containing molecules will go through oxidative phosphorylation to produce a lot of energy. The energy requiring reactions are mostly involved in anabolism, the building of complex organic molecules from simpler ones. All right. So these reactions are also called as anabolic reactions or biosynthetic reactions. And these anabolic processes normally involves dehydration, uh, synthesis reactions, which releases water in all the reactions. Also often involve, they are also endogenic, those reactions that consume more energy than they produce. So this is totally opposite of the catabolism. Catabolism, just now we're talking about exergenic. All right, so for anabolism is endogenic. So examples of the anabolism reactions are those those reactions that form those reactions that change simple molecules into smaller one. For example, in these examples, formation of protein from amino acids, and also we have formation of polysaccharide or from simple sugars, and we have formation of the uh, genome or DNA, from nucleotides. So for further details, so these are anabolic reactions. Um, glucose glucose to form glycogen, and these reactions need energy. Glycerol and fatty acids to form triglycerides. So these reactions require energy. Amino acids to form protein. All right. Now we're going to look into how these two reactions connect to each other, how catabolic and anabolic reactions connected to each other. So earlier we talked about the balancing act of metabolism, balancing act of the release of energy and the use of energy in the cells. All right, so catabolic reactions actually provide the building blocks for anabolic reactions and furnish energy needed to drive it. So catabolic reactions not just producing energy to be used for anabolic reactions, but it is also the process that produce the smaller molecules that become the building blocks for the anabolic reactions. This coupling of energy releasing and energy requiring reactions is actually made possible by the molecule called ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. So ATP is a molecule that cells use as to manage the energy, and ATP store energy derived from catabolic reactions and release it later to drive anabolic reactions and perform other cellular work in the cells. So to sum up for the first part of this topic, metabolism, then you're going to look into the simplified model of metabolism. So again, we have catabolism and anabolism, right? For the, cannot see it here. Oh, okay, you can. Let me just edit that one. All right, so we have catabolism and anabolism process in the cells. So how does the cells thrive? So from the sources of energy such as biomicromolecules, so the cells will utilize carbohydrates, sugars, or lipids or protein into the cells, uh, bringing into the cells, and then the cell will go through catabolism, all right, breaking down of these large biomolecules, and then during the catabolism, energy is produced, all right, and also produce other products from the process, and this energy is then being used for the anabolism process. So anabolism require energy. So anabolism is the process of changing or formation of biomolecules from big macromolecules from simple molecule. So now we're going to look into the ATP molecule, or we call it as the metabolic money. So why is it called as metabolic money? Because it is the source of energy. So it's the currency for the chemical reactions in the cells. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. So this is the structure of ATP. We have the nitrogenous base. In here is adenine. And then we have ribose sugar, the pentose sugar here. And we have 3 phosphate groups. Okay, so ATP is the energy that cell use to do work, to do all the reactions, to do catabolism and anabolism, and so the cells treat it as the currency or money. So only this ATP is the right type of energy that cells can use. So where does the energy stored? It is stored at the phosphate group. So here are the most important parts of the ATP. So energy is released when the phosphate bonds are broken. Molecule of ATP consists of adenine, ribose, and the 3 phosphate groups. So when the terminal phosphate group is released or split from ATP, adenosine diphosphate is formed and energy is released to drive the anabolic reactions. So you can see here ATP, so one of the phosphate is released. Now P become phosphate, and then the molecule ATP become ADP. So you got only 2 phosphates in the molecule, and then the energy from the catabolic reactions is used to combine ADP and the phosphate group, and the phosphates to resynthesize ATP. So to remember that anabolic reactions are coupled with ATP breakdown, whereas the catabolic reactions are coupled with ATP synthesis. So ATP breakdown means really use of energy, and then ATP synthesis means you produce energy. And these concepts of coupled reactions is very important. So in cells, chemical reactions, chemical compositions of living cells is constantly changing, right? And some molecules are broken down while others are being synthesized. And so this balanced flow of chemicals and energy maintains of the cells. So this balance of flow of chemicals and energy maintains the life of a cells. Now we're going to look into the role of ATP in coupling the anabolic and catabolic reactions. So the question is, how does ATP provide energy for synthesis? Again, first, the complex molecules such as starch, proteins, and lipids will go through catabolic reactions. So during these catabolic reactions, the energy will be transferred from the complex molecule to ATP. Then ATP is being released as energy, and then also some of the energy is released as heat. And during these catabolic reactions, the complex molecules will form simple molecules such as glucose, amino acids, glycerol, and fatty acids. And these molecules is the building blocks to build up the structures in the cells. So in order to do that, the process anabolic reactions will happen. During these anabolic reactions, energy will be transferred from ATP to the complex molecules. Then ATP, that means ATP is used during this process, and some of the energy is released in the form of heat. So in all, catabolic reactions coupled with ATP synthesis, whereby anabolic reactions coupled with ATP breakdown.